Hello and welcome Albion community to another Albion Online Dev Talk. Today I want to talk about how we're proceeding with the Outlands rework that we first mentioned during the Oberon roadmap and that I last spoke about during the Season 7 Dev Talk. Of course we have exciting other stuff coming in our next content update, but today I really want to focus on what you will be seeing in the next content update, codenamed Queen, with respect to the Outlands rework. So there's 5 major improvements to talk about today. The first is an entirely new Outlands map. The second is the ability to place hideouts, secret bases for your guild, anywhere in the Outlands, giving you a way to actually live deep in the world of Albion. The third is an entirely new method of territory control, replacing the current GVG system with a system where all players of the guild can contribute to the battle. And the fourth is giving the 5 versus 5 players a meaningful replacement for the territory control fights with an expanded Crystal Realm battle system. And fifth and finally is Zerg Debuffs and the Smart Cluster queue, 2 ways of dealing with too many players in the same area or reducing the attractiveness of just bringing massive armies to a fight. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get started. So when we first designed our current Outlands, the idea was to put as much separation as possible between the lower parts of the Outlands and the higher parts of the Outlands. And the idea was to basically have the strong guilds play in the high-end Outlands and have the weaker guilds be as much removed from them as possible. In reality, this didn't quite work out that way. A lot of the stronger guilds actually settled in the lower-end areas, and it turned out to be not that important. On the other hand, though, it made the players who were controlling the higher-end Outlands quite hard to challenge because they were not attackable that easily, being perched in the corner of the map. So the new design of the Outlands completely changes this. The idea here is that all the valuable areas, the most exciting areas where you'll find the most valuable resources, the most season points, etc., will be found towards the center of the Outland map, leaving anyone who is trying to control these areas open to attack from all sides. In addition, of course, this rework of the map is an opportunity for us to revisit a lot of other design principles about the map. We'll look at the resource distribution, we'll look at the distribution of valuable objectives such as treasure sites and castles and all kinds of other things, and even the design of the maps themselves. The biggest notable change will likely be that we will be changing the number of territories in each map or in each zone from typically 2 around now to a single one. But we'll cover that when we talk about the open world GVG attack or territory attacks. There's another thing that's coming with this new Outland map, and that is the collapse of the Caelian portal. Basically, in the new map design, we didn't want to have Caelian in such a particularly exposed or special position. So the access to the new Outlands map will be only through the outer cities on the Royal Continent, and the Outland portal in Caelian will collapse, leaving us to, or giving us an opportunity to revisit Caelian in a later update, and we have some pretty exciting plans for it when it comes to the Royal Continent play that will launch later next year, hopefully. Now the second feature we need to talk about, because it plays very closely with the map, are the hideouts. You may have heard us talking about the hideouts before, and honestly, we're really excited about them. The hideouts are basically buildable bases that guilds can place anywhere in the Outlands and can establish a home for themselves there. They're no longer tied to needing predefined building grounds. Instead, they can just find a free slot in the world or a free bit of space in the world where they can place such a hideout. So how do you have to imagine this? Well, the hideouts start as a hideout building kit, which is a craftable item. And it's probably going to be quite heavy, so you need to transport it to a particular location where you want to place your hideout. Once you've placed it there, the hideout will start out as a construction site, and there will be a short period in which you have to defend this construction site before it becomes invulnerable. It then spends about a day being non-attackable, and just before it finishes construction, it will become attackable again until it is then an established hideout. Now, if it's attacked in the meantime and destroyed, it just doesn't ever finish. And the reason for this is that we want to prevent guilds from using hideouts aggressively, sneaking it into the territories of their opponents and having a base in their backyard, essentially, without a means of defending against this. But if you do manage to survive these 2 attack periods, you have an established hideout. The established hideout can then be entered, allowing you to basically enter an instanced underground area where your guild can build up things like crafting stations. They will have a bank, a guild marketplace, farm spaces, and this whole place is upgradable. So it starts as a pretty small hideout, really, and it becomes a pretty epic base. We're really excited about what the hideouts are going to bring to Albion, because we think it will bring a completely new playstyle, not only for the guilds, but it also offers sandbox opportunities like the ability to open these up to the public through the access rights system and basically running a public trading post with public crafting stations and a public marketplace. We can't wait to see what you guys do with it. The next change is most likely the most controversial. And it's one that we've been thinking about for a very long time now. Together with the hideouts, we're removing the current system of territory control, the 5 versus 5 GVG battles. Instead, we're replacing them with a new method for territory control, which allows all players in the guild to contribute to their guild's success by participating in a territory fight. And here's how that will work. Basically, at any point during the day, you can ride to any of your opponent's territories and kill the territory guards, which will still be there. Once you've killed them, you can go to the territory tower and basically challenge the control of this tower. You can lay a claim to this tower. And this will schedule a battle for the next day during prime time. The next day then, during prime time, you can return and you can then channel the tower to actually complete your claim and take control of the territory. And the defender can prevent this by actually channeling the tower themselves to remove your claim. So essentially it's a open world battle on who can lay claim to the tower on the evening after a challenge. And the exciting thing here is that as many guilds as want to do this can lay a claim at the same time. So you can actually have 3-way or multiple-way battles over the control of a territory tower. This change, like I said, we've thought about it for a really long time. It does a few things for us. It finally allows players in a guild to really contribute to the action of owning a territory, to be a member of the group that is involved in defending and attacking territories, one of the main things for the larger guilds of Albion Online. It also takes the game of territory control out of the few players' hands who, many of them have actually been seeking 5 versus 5 battle action out of the interest of fighting fights rather than out of the interest of actually controlling territories. And for the players who are more interested in exciting 5 versus 5 fights, we think we have a much better solution with the next feature that we're going to talk about, and that's the expanded Crystal Realm battles. So the expanded Crystal Realm battles will allow players to sign up for Crystal Realm fights even if their guild does not own a territory. Instead, players who want to participate in the Crystal Realm system will need a token, a Crystal Realm token, to participate in fights. At different times during the day, the week, and the month, battles will be scheduled at different levels, and to join one of these fights, you need an appropriate matching Crystal Realm token. So basically, to sign up for one of these fights, you collect a group of 5 people who all have a token matching the battle that you want to sign up for. And once you successfully sign up for the fight, you get thrown into a Crystal Realm fight against other people with the same token level, the same way that Crystal fights happen right now. They're full loot fights, you get to keep your opponent's gear, you get an additional reward for winning the battle. And in this case, if you win a fight, your token gets upgraded to the next level, while your opponent's token is destroyed if they lose. Now, the exciting thing about the Crystal Realm battle system is that it allows players who don't have a strong guild to still participate in exciting 5 versus 5 high-risk fights. But it also has a component where your high-end GVG players can contribute to your guild's success, and they can do so through a special sign-up process. There's 2 ways to actually join a Crystal Realm fight. One way is to sign up through a Crystal Mage in a city or in an upgraded hideout. But the advanced way is to sign up through basically the territory tower, and use the power of the territory crystal to enter the Crystal Realm. Because in this case, if you use that way, if you win a fight, you actually upgrade the power of the territory crystal, and this has a number of beneficial effects for your guild. The first effect is that it adds a general gathering buff for all gatherers of your guild, an increased yield while gathering around the crystal or the territory tower. The second is that it actually increases the enchantment rate of resources in the areas surrounding the territory tower. And on top of that, it actually buffs the guards with the power of the crystal, so it makes it much harder for your opponents to kill your guard and challenge control of your territory in the open world. So GVG-minded players and GVG teams that exist in guilds really have a cool way to contribute to the strength of the territories that their guild owns, and be an important asset even in the new territory control system for their guilds as they were before. Finally, let's talk about the Zerg debuffs and the smart cluster queue. So with so many features coming that have battles that are resolved in the open world, you're certainly wondering, how are we going to deal with so many players wanting to come to these massive battles? And there's 2 answers to this. One is the smart cluster queue system. That system is basically a system that is meant to prevent a zone from being blocked by one group of players, bringing a large amount of people and stopping other people from joining the zone. What the smart cluster queue system does is it analyzes for each side how many players are trying to enter the zone, and then calculates based on the gear of the players and their status, how much they're contributing to the value of the army that's trying to enter the zone, and then it assigns slots to each army. And this will be the amount of players that you can actually get into the overcrowded zone that you're trying to get into. And of course that means some players will have to be removed to make space for them. So some players actually get moved to the exits and basically ejected from the zone where they weren't the most contributing fighters. But now this opens up the opportunity for secondary battles to occur in the neighboring cluster, and you're able to basically attack your enemy's reinforcements in the open world. Now, of course, that's not the simplest system, and it doesn't, it would be much better to just have the ability to have massive battles with infinite number of players, but unfortunately that's technically pretty much an impossibility. So we want to prevent the situation from happening too often, so there is a second thing we're doing, and that's the Zerg Debuff. The Zerg Debuff basically adds an inefficiency to bringing too many people. Whenever you have more than 25 players in the Outlands who are allied to each other in a zone, the Zerg Debuff system will add a slight inefficiency, a slight reduction in your damage to all of these players. And the more players you have that are allied to each other, the bigger the debuff will be for these players. So basically guilds will have to start thinking about what is the optimal size of their army to bring based on their skills, their abilities, the strength of their players. They're just bringing more players is no longer the simple answer. And that should help us prevent a situation where clusters are getting to the point where they need to be resolved too frequently. Now there's a lot more to explain about these features in detail, and this is why we'll dedicate a video probably to each of them where we explain them in detail at some point. But for today, I hope I've given you an overview of how the Outland gameplay of Albion Online is going to change, how we're in for a completely new experience of living in the Outlands and fighting for territories. When the Queen update hits, which is still a while off, we'll keep you updated as we progress, and as I said, we'll be covering the rest in more videos. But for now, I hope you're really excited about these new opportunities for massive PvP coming to Albion and new opportunities for epic 5 vs 5 fights and the abilities to live in the Outlands finally, no matter what size guild you actually have. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for listening, and goodbye. Hello Albion community, welcome to this Albion Online Dev Talk. Did we already start recording? Okay, I thought we were still kidding here.